What up, y'all? It is Jamba, and I'm here with another video. I came across this. This is actually very hot off the press. They posted this not too long ago uh, on the World Star Streets. What is it called? Man says dating a black woman is a lot of pressure. I feel entitled to pay for things. That's the quote. Um, I don't know, man. I was gonna cover this, but it's a minute and 19 seconds, which I think is long enough time for me to have something to say about it. I don't know what to expect. So do I well, that's his experience. So let's see what he has to say. Let's see what he has to say.
To grow on social media, you need to make video content. But video content takes a long time to make. Try Veep to speed up your video content creation workflow. You can begin creating from...
Happened in your dating experience to where you're now like,
It's a lot of pressure on black men, specifically dating black women. And I love black women. Social media and the culture has put a lot of pressure on us. This could be just based on environment. When I moved to Atlanta, women here are very entitled. And listen, I'm not blaming anybody, so I don't want this.
That collective. Watch this. Watch the collective.
Environment. When I moved to Atlanta, women here are very entitled. And listen, I'm not blaming anybody, so I don't want this to turn into...
When you say entitled, though, break, what does entitled mean?
I'll say financially entitled. I feel extreme pressure. And I get hit on by white women. I get hit on by all kinds of women. But when I get hit on by black women, I immediately feel this entitlement of, I got to pay for something.
Wow.
I got to pay your rent. I got to help you with your car note immediately within 2 weeks. Or I'm just saying what I've experienced. I'm not saying that's every woman. Nowadays, if I take somebody on a
$400
immediately, and I don't even drink. So if she drink, that's a couple hundred. If the hookah is 45, lamb chops is 50, dessert. So by the time
valet,
or valet, I was just getting ready to say valet. So we didn't spend $400 for me to see if you like me.
Say that again.
So it's like I'm spending. That's just the first date. You want to go out again. So I didn't spend $1,000 on 3 dates just to see if you might call me back, or maybe he texts me back. And then because you're a beautiful woman, if you don't like me, you can go get the next man to do the same thing.
Woo. Well, this is his experience, y'all. So you can't really blame the dude. He's not talking about women or black women in general. He's just talking about his experience. So let's go back and let me give my analysis. No, not that video. This video.
Dating experience to where you're now like,
It's a lot of pressure on black men, specifically dating black women. And I love black women. So
I haven't experienced like this pressure. I will say that if you're in a place like I haven't been there in a long time or dated there, but I can imagine, like you're being compared to, as a man, the other men who these women are around or have dated. So that pressure is going to come from not it does come from, well, the last guy who I went out with last weekend, we did this. This other guy who I went out with 2 weeks ago, we went on a helicopter ride. I've experienced that, where I wanted to do something relatively simple. She wanted to go to some jazz club, or she wanted to do something that she really wanted to do without considering what I wanted to do. And I'll be honest with you, I wanted to take her to Jamba Juice, hence the name. And we didn't end up seeing each other. We only went on one date, and we just walked around. It was like near an IKEA. So, and this wasn't somebody I was super interested in. So I don't really, I just wanted to kind of see where it went. But yeah, I can sense, I can understand why a man, like, especially a man who's in Atlanta, would have pressure, right?
Social media and the culture has put a lot of pressure on us. This could be just based on environment. When I moved to Atlanta, women here are very entitled. And listen, I'm not blaming anybody.
I like how they both went. Like I can just look on this woman's face and know that she feels a little bit convicted. Why? Look at the conviction on her face. That's conviction, because she knows that she either has displayed some of these entitlement characteristics, or she knows women who has personally. So that's what that signifies to me.
And listen, I'm not blaming anybody, so I don't want this to turn into
When you say
that.
entitled,
And now he's doing the whole I'm not blaming anybody because he's not trying to get himself in trouble. So he put the accountability on y'all entitled, and then he's removing it by saying I'm not blaming nobody. So this is just an attempt for him to cover his ass so he won't get canceled on Black Twitter.
though, break. What does entitled mean?
I'll say financially entitled. I feel extreme pressure, and I get hit on by white women. I get hit on by all kinds of women. But when I get hit on by Black women, I immediately feel this entitlement of I gotta pay for something.
He's saying feel a lot, which I'm like, okay, what does that like mean? Like you're saying you feel like you need to pay something.
Wow.
I gotta pay your rent. I gotta
like. The problem with what he's doing is because since he loves Black women, he's trying to be honest while at the same time not trying to paint Black women. I'm sorry, I'm looking at these. I gotta mute this because that's distracting. I'm like, what is this on my screen? What was I saying? Shit. I was saying that he's trying to, and it's there again. Stop it. Stop seeing this ad. It's inappropriate. Yes. Thank you. Okay. My train of thought, man. I was saying that he is not trying to make Black women look bad. So he's saying words like, I feel the pressure to pay their rent. What in reality, what he probably should say, which would actually be honest, is that women ask him to help pay their rent, or ask him, to help pay my car note, or like that's what's actually happening. He's covering it with I feel the pressure, when in actuality, these women more than likely are just asking him to do these things. That because otherwise he's not going to feel that way. It's not a normal thing for a man to feel obligated to pay a woman's rent like that, unless the woman is presenting herself to be a woman in need of a rent to be paid, whether she's directly saying, hey, I need you to pay me my rent, or her saying, hey, yeah, I'm behind on rent this week. That's why I'm so stressed out. So he's not saying the whole truth here.
Help you with your car note immediately within 2 weeks, or I'm just saying what I've experienced. I'm not saying that's every woman nowadays.
So yeah, so he's basically saying it without saying that these women have asked him or demanded or requested that he helps them financially.
If I take somebody on a
$400
immediately, and I don't even drink, so if she drink, that's a couple hundred.
And fellas, this is just a thing. If you don't drink, I don't drink either. Try not to, and I know this is advice, and I shouldn't give it. I really shouldn't be giving no advice, but I will say, try not to date women seriously who make drinking an integral part of their lifestyle, because you're going to be, as what the Bible says, unequally yoked. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't date a woman who drinks at all, but if you don't drink, if you don't smoke, because I'm going to tell you something, if you don't smoke, I don't smoke, and not smoking has made me lose. And I'm saying lose, I mean, it's like all good, because if we weren't compatible, we weren't compatible. But that makes you miss out on a large contingent of women, because a lot of women not only smoke, but their lifestyle and the guys who they dated and the guys who they might have hooked up with or whatever revolves around smoking. Why do you think? There's a lot of cases where dudes who back in the day, back when weed was illegal, it's like you had women who would, sleep with the guy who in exchange for weed. Like that's just kind of been a thing. And I've been told this. I've been told this by a number of guys who used to sell it, that they would deal with women and then they would smoke them out and then he would pipe them out. So smoking, drinking, if these are things that a woman feels or like engages within, like socially to a large extent, and you don't drink at all, that's not going to be that's not a recipe, I don't believe, for a good, jump off to a relationship, right? It's, so if I'm on a date with a woman and I'm at a restaurant and if I'm like this dude and I'm not drinking and she's just getting a whole bunch of drinks, nah, that's not going to fucking work. That's not going to work at all.
The hookahs 45, lamb
Dessert?
chops is 50, dessert.
Mhm.
So by the time VIP
Valet.
or valet, I was just getting ready to say valet. So we didn't spend $400 for me to see if you like me.
Say that again.
Yeah, ladies, this is the problem with dating. This is why dating does not work, and is probably going to not work for a larger and larger group of men who are starting to kind of realize, oh yeah, this is kind of like low-key BS. Now, me personally, I didn't necessarily mind. I did mind it before. There was a certain point, maybe it's because I was making a little bit more money or whatever, but I didn't mind it as much. However, all of it does add up, and men are put in this really fucked up position of having to essentially, a lot of men having to partially buy their way into your heart or buy themselves into a relationship or a situation with you, when on your end of the table, a lot of y'all are entertaining a number of dudes, and the guy who is on the other end of the table, who's willing to take you out and all that, you're only going out, you're not really going out with them really because you like him like that. But you like this restaurant, you like this spot, maybe you're bored, maybe the guy who you're sleeping with, he's out of town, or he hasn't called you, or your ex is acting up. So okay, cool, I'll waste this motherfucker's time. I'm not saying this is all of y'all, but this is a lot of these are things that have happened. I'm speaking on this end for right now, and ladies, but I'm not saying that you're obligated to continue to see a man if you're not interested in him. However, like this whole and this, when the whole Cheesecake Factory thing went viral, it's like, if you're not paying for it, then what would be wrong with a date that is simple, cheaper, easier, more casual? Why does, if you don't even know if you really like that guy, why do you feel, I mean, I know why. The reason I was going to ask, why do you feel as if a man should do the dinner, go above and beyond, when, like the man just said, you don't like him yet? I know the reason. I believe the reason is because you don't like him. You don't find him that attractive. He's not as sexy as the dude who you see on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So because of that, because you might be, it's like, okay, he's not my typey type. Okay, cool. I'll allow him to feed me. I'm going to give you the pleasure, or the privilege to feed me. I think that's why. I think that this is just a way of men kind of paying a not being an Idris Elba penalty, basically, right? So I kind of know why, but it's just not a sustainable business model for dating for most men anyway. And this is regardless of whether he's making 50K or even making 100K. Because even guys who are making 100K, it's not feasible to take to be having to waste time and go on this date. It doesn't work out. Because and here's the thing, most guys, when they go out on the first date, they don't get second dates. And I know we can blame the guy because the burden of performance is always on the man. So if a man goes out on 3 dates and he doesn't get one second date, then the blame goes on to him. But what if all 3 of the women just, like I was saying earlier, women, and he's going to say it later on in this little clip, is that women have other options. So you can go out on the best date, have a really good time. She's laughing, y'all having a great conversation. He's a gentleman. She looks good. He looks good. The avenue, the atmosphere, and for whatever reason, something kind of pops up in her life, or she just kind of gets bored, and then that's kind of it. And then finito. It doesn't. That whole night, that lovely date night that y'all had last week, didn't even fucking matter anymore. And I know I'm not the only man to go through this type of stuff. I'm cool with being called a certain name or whatever, you lame, or you this, because this is a very common for guys who actually, who have either now or in the past taken women on dates. This is like a relatively common occurring thing. Most guys are not out here being how to be a player. Like, most guys are not like that, contrary to popular belief, especially black men.
So it's like I'm spending. That's just the first date. You want to go out again. So I didn't spend $1,000 on 3 dates just to see. if you might call me back or
Right, exactly. Yeah. And this is why dating is probably better. Y'all, some of y'all might disagree with me on this. Dating is probably better for people who are in college because you don't have a lot of these expectations. Because once you're starting like to get into your career, because oftentimes, ladies, it's like y'all would date a guy who's making like 250K and date him for a while and it doesn't work out. And then y'all would date a man who's making 70K, but be mad because he's not taking you out on the same dates and events as the other dude. Not saying y'all get mad like consciously, but it's kind of like y'all hold all men to like this to like this like standard. You know, I'm not I know some of y'all are a lot of y'all I should say are more reasonable. So let me say that. I'm giving y'all some giving some of y'all the rational ones some credit. But it's just not this is not sustainable. The reason why I say dating, and I'm gonna finish the clip in a minute. The reason why I say dating is a little bit probably better for people in college is because, like I said, you don't have the expectation of these $400, like, you know, and even, like again, even if you're making good money, this is it's still an absurd concept, y'all. It is.
maybe text me back. And then because you're a beautiful woman, if you don't like me, you can go get the next man to do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. So
Happening.
so and I'll land on this. You know, a lot of women don't feel women. I know I'm on y'all on this video, because this is a guy talking from his perspective, right? And I can definitely relate. I know a lot of guys can also kind of relate. But yeah, the truth is, let me speak on a lady's behalf. They have more leverage over you, and that is the reason why men like the man in this video kind of feel like they're in this predicament when it comes to dating, because they don't have any leverage, because a lot of guys have to kind of, I'm not saying they have to do it, because they don't have to do it, but they believe in order to have a somewhat decent dating lifestyle, that they need to, you know, and you kind of don't, right? I mean, you do have the whole passport bros. They're saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna take my money, energy, time, and resources and go off to another country. So you have that. You have some guys who are just not dating in general. You have some guys who are just focusing on other aspects of life, whether it's family, religion, their passion, hobbies, what have you. But if they want to actually date, then yeah, they feel like they are obligated to spend a grand sum of money, when in a lot of these cases these women are not into them. Hence why these women require large sums of money. And it's kind of like that that video I was watching with Melissa Ford and that other lady. I forget the other lady. But it was like a panel of black women, and Melissa Ford basically said, she was talking about Tyler Perry and how those movies are unrealistic because, of course, she would date a bus driver if he looked like Boris Cujo. So this is like basically you are the date, the way that I see it, to close these big grand $300, $400 valet parking, you know, getting a whole bunch of drinks, the nice venue on a first date. I barely know this woman, and she's more so focused on the drinks and what's on the menu than who I am as a person. These dates are basically the "you are not Boris Cujo" penalty. You are not Boris Cujo, pay this fine. It's a fine. Dates are basically, we're at a point now where dates for men are just a fine for not being Boris Cujo, or insert highly desirable man here. Anyways, y'all, man, this was I sound like one of these manosphere people. With this one, I don't know if I could post. No, fuck it, I'm gonna post it. Nah, I gotta get some balls and post this shit because it's true. Anyways, y'all, please like and subscribe, and I'll be back with more.